Game show. I'm Mike Missinelli with Derek Gunn, Seth Joyner, and joining us now for the segment, our medical expert, orthopod, and neurologist, Dr. Bruce Grossinger joins us. Dr. Bruce, when you look at a game like this, and I see you watch a game, a doctor watches a game a little differently than most people, where you're looking for some injury situations. So if you're looking at this game, what possible injury situations did you see in this game, and what brings you caution?
Well, firstly, I saw the guy with the best name in the NFL, Equanimous Brown. I like to say that over and over again. Wide receiver caught a 20-yard pass, and I think about the cold. I think about 5 degrees, chill factor, and hitting the ground. It's much like this table here, and being in concussion protocol. The Bears were already thin at wide receiver, and I think that was an important play of the game. I also think about how the cold affects physiology, in the sense that the muscles, they have slow reaction time. And obviously, Seth and I talk a lot about physiology and ATP. When you have a game like that, you basically have slow reaction time. Your muscles don't fire. So what do you see? You see pulls and you see tears. And when Justin Fields went out, he had a pulled hamstring, not an injury, but you saw how he was stretching. I think that was cold-related because of the extreme cold at Soldier Field.
Was that a cramp situation, or was that actually a pull that he was dealing with?
I believe that was a physiologic pull, not a tear, not a tear of structures, but I believe that what happened was his hamstring got cold and tight, and he had to go to the locker room and warm up, and he came back, and at that point it was Katie barred the door, but that certainly didn't help the Bears.
Interesting. I'm gonna go back to two important pieces for the Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas Goedert. Obviously, there's talk that he's been ready to play. They opened up the 21-day practice window for him this week, yet they don't activate him for this game. Then, talk about, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Need to get him back. But when you got lacerated kidney, talk about the time frame and where he is. I don't think he's eligible to come back this week, but maybe the next week, and the possibility of getting him back, not this week, but next.
Well, I'm glad you brought Goddard up, because last week still was a mystery. We didn't know the pathology of the shoulder. They finally leaked out that he has a hairline fracture of his humerus, of the shoulder bone. So Goddard, especially in the cold, we're thinking about all the rotator cuff muscles, slow reaction time, bad muscle physiology. A game against the Bears, 3-10 team, every reason not to have Goddard come back. And in retrospect, that was a very good decision. We look at Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, lacerated kidney, again, optional. I don't know if he's coming back against the Cowboys. They keep it very close to the vest, but obviously he's such an important player with 6 interceptions. And you want it for the playoffs, really. And if they win next week, they'll be able to rest a lot of guys going into the last 2 games.
You brought the Goddard thing up, because it's the first time hearing this. What is the heel time now for that?
I believe he's ready. He practiced
he
all
is
week.
ready. Okay.
So he had a small fracture, non-displaced. He practiced all week, and a lot of people thought he was going to play, as you know. And turns out they held him out, and that's kind of like healthy scratch, as we say in certain games. So it was a healthy scratch.
They held him out because of the cold weather.
Well, I'd say the cold weather, and they felt that they were going to beat the Bears without him.
Okay.
I think he will play against the Cowboys on Christmas Eve. And that's the game we've been pointed to all season. So pretty excited about that one.
So when you're talking about a hairline fracture, what do you have to guard against long term? I mean, because they held him out an extra game. Obviously, the cold weather is a factor. He's going to be playing in a controlled environment dome next week against Dallas. What are some of the things that you look for in terms of trying to protect it down the road so it doesn't reoccur or get worse?
Well, usually, ironically, when you have a callus, which is like a scar that forms over a hairline fracture, actually makes the bone stronger. So he was ready to go. So basically, they kept him out about a month. That humerus, which is the long bone, inserting against the shoulder, healed very well. And I think they were worried about inactivity and straining a muscle. And if he would have come back and had a different injury, a rotator cuff tear or tendonitis, I think that would have been a mistake to have the Eagles play Goddard. And it turns out, even though they played less than a perfect game, they got the win, and they held Goddard out. They held out Gardner-Johnson. I think he'll be eligible to come back either next week or the week after. And again, they keep it very close to the vest. As far as the kidney and how it's healing, I don't think anybody except for the absolute insiders know exactly what's going on with that kidney. But the word is that he's getting better every week, and he's certainly a very important part, a great acquisition in the offseason.
All right, that's Dr. Bruce with the medical update, and we're coming back to wrap this baby up, and I have the line on next week's game in Dallas, and it might surprise you a little bit. It is the Pine Hockey Eagles postgame show. Back to wrap it up after this.